For real, I don't want to just be a Fiverr tutorial channel, but sometimes that's the way the cookie crumbles. So this week you're getting 2 Fiverr videos back to back just to answer some really common questions that I know everyone continually asks and I hope you enjoy learning about. So long-term contracts and subscriptions are basically the best way to create a sense of stability in what can otherwise be a very unstable freelance environment. And it's really helpful to be able to maximize those relationships that you've already built instead of chasing down and trying to convert new clients when you're not sure how that's going to turn out. I think it's always much more fun and rewarding, both financially and creatively, to nurture relationships with clients that you already know are amazing to work with. Hey, I'm Carrie. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome for the very first time. All around, welcome. I'm Carrieblogger, a career freelancer on Fiverr.com, where I've been selling as a Fiverr Pro verified copywriter for about the past 9 years. And in today's video, like I said, we are going through kind of 3 main ways to build subscriptions or long-term relationships with awesome clients that you love to continually collaborate with. But before we get into that, we have to announce this week's Blogger of the Week. And if you'd like to be the Blogger of the Week, just like Whim Eats World, all you have to do is drop a comment down below and you might get picked. Okay, so today's video is gonna be a little chatty. Don't hate me, don't come at me. I love to chat, I love to ramble. And since this honestly is not a video that I'm super pumped to talk about, but I know you guys are probably super interested to hear about, this is kind of the middle ground, little, compromise that we're working with today. So basically 3 main types of long-term contracts as I see it. The first would be to work on retainer, in which case there is a set build amount, but within that it's kind of flexible to adapt to their needs. The second is they just keep coming back. Right, that's exactly what it sounds like. There's no contract, there's no plan or deal, but essentially they just like you and they just kind of hop back in and order from time to time. It's a little bit more hard to, a little harder to predict when they're going to order from you. And I would say that this kind of system also takes a little bit more work on your side and theirs just to get all the details clarified. And then the third is a little bit different than a retainer because this is working on a schedule. I would say that in this case, subscription. Working on a subscription. And in this case, the subscription is a schedule that is then very concrete and automated. And pretty much the goal with that is that the client just passes everything off to you. So I actually just started my first retainer client with a nationwide company. I am so excited about that. And so just kind of going to talk from my experience here. So yeah, it's a legitimate 6-month minimum contract. We have a minimum retainer amount every month planned out based on their content needs. I will be reading off my screen. Stick with me. So I'm actually working with their accounts receivable billing department. I feel like a legit businesswoman. It's weird. Little mommypreneur action going on. But yeah, in Carrieblogger fashion, I did actually convince them to pay for the services up front, which is pretty not common for freelancers, especially the best most people get is pay 50% up front, 50% after completion. But spoiler, they really like me and I'm really good to work with. So having built that reputation with them over the past couple years of working together, we have been able to, reach a pretty solid middle ground on that. So they are actually paying me for the month ahead of time with that clear retainer scoped out, and then any additional work that they request over the course of the month, I'll just apply to next time's invoice. And if they don't use all the retainer that they've already paid for, that can then roll into the next month and payments are non-refundable. So that works out really well for me. It's very consistent for them. So let's say how did I make this happen? How can you make this happen and get those clients on retainer where you're pretty much guaranteed a certain amount, again, which makes it a little easier to plan for your finances, but within that set amount of content or services or billable hours or whatever you're selling, it's a little bit flexible to meet their needs from there. So first of all, just have really bulletproof expectations. No matter what, even if the retainer invoice can fluctuate or flex to meet their needs, they still need to know exactly what things cost, when things are going to be done, exactly what the lengths and details are, so that they can then plan how effective is this retainer amount going to be be for them. I also strongly recommend doing work for them first before you're trying to pitch them on this retainer concept. And actually they pitched it to me, which is really cool. We've worked together on and off for nearly 3 years. And so being able to make them fall in love with me a little more every time we work together, until the point when they say, wow, this would just be so much easier if you were just a consistent member of our team. Like, that's the sweet spot. That's what you want to do. And that's all about my method of attracting instead of pushing out my marketing to them. And then of course, this is something I was totally new to in the process, but just becoming more proactive in like the negotiating process, educating them on both what their needs are, what you recommend, and how the best way to maximize that retainer amount for them is going to work. I've never drafted contracts like that before, and so that was something I had to look into and figure out. But yeah, it worked really well, and I think it's a really, really good next step. I'm excited. Thing number 2. So the other what am I talking about? The other, I have allergy brain today. Other method, I think is the word I'm looking for, is just when clients just keep coming back, right? I mentioned that they're not gonna plan necessarily, and they're definitely not gonna check in with you before they order. They probably are just gonna pop back in and out as the need arises, and mostly with like startups as their budget allows. Like when they get a little bit of cash flow that then they can invest in content or services, whatever you're offering, that's when they'll pop back in, which is kind of cool. It's like, from a mindset perspective, you can't think about those repeat clients being your windfall or like being your stability of finances, because they're not. Like, it's not stable, it's just repetitive, if that makes sense. But just, think about it in a different way of just being excited for the opportunity to work with them again, the opportunity to recheck in, see how they're growing, continue to shape their creative strategy, and just they're popping in. It's cool. It's a nice little surprise. It's a perk. How can you encourage people to do that? I make sure to always welcome them back. So even if their username looks remotely familiar, even if it's like the same user in a different project, I always will search for their username in my records to double check, like, have I worked with this person before? Because sometimes it'll be like 7 years ago, we worked on project A, and then they come back to me for project B years later, and I'm like, I don't know why, but I think this username looks familiar. And once I search for it, find it, I'll say, hey, welcome back. It's been ages. Like, I'm excited to work on this new project. And people no joke are like, oh my God, you're so busy. I'm so surprised that you remember me. Or like, wow, that's so cool that you care. I don't know. It's that friendly, honest, authentic, emotional vibe that is central to my approach to business. And I think it really matters. You can also check in occasionally. This is CRM, customer relationship management, I think is what the acronym stands for. But just check in periodically, see if they need anything, like keep them in the loop if you have any new changes, or like if you're offering a new service that you genuinely think might be helpful for them. You can also like give them just little perks. It doesn't have to necessarily be like a repeat client discount or anything like that, but if they need something small, maybe offer to just like chuck it to the top of your queue and just get it done for them really fast, because you know them, they're easy to work with, you like them, and you want them to keep coming back. Or more consistently, for me, the perk is that if they have a request that's just slightly outside of my skill set, or it's something that I don't have tons of experience with, but they would rather work with me, like instead of going to have to vet another seller and do the whole rigmarole to get someone else to do it, I'll say, sure, I'll give it a try. I'll go through the pitch and the script of like, this isn't my specialty, I don't have tons of experience in it, but basically if you're willing to take a chance on me, I'm willing to take a chance on you and try this project. So those are a couple easy ways that you can help to get those relationships to continue and kind of percolate. I was gonna say like a coffee pot, but that's, I don't know, it'll perk you up. Allergy brain, I don't know. Okay, and then the third and final method would be a subscription service. In this case, it's where clients have really clear-cut goals, there's like a concrete schedule, and the timeline is very predictable. Fiverr obviously is trying to encourage this as a tool, so they have the new Fiverr subscribe to save feature. They're obviously trying to push it because they see the value in keeping clients like linked up with sellers that make them happy, obviously, and it just helps to continue to keep them around, which is good for them and good for you. So how? Let's talk about it. Make sure that the packages you offer are universally helpful when you're setting up these subscription options. So I like to think of it as like the gold standard of what any average person would like to get off the shelf. This is again coming down to your educating them about best practices, what's the most popular, what's the most effective, and just not making it difficult at all for them to order and to predict how that order is going to help them long term. It's also really helpful, obviously, to set up convenient timelines for them. So if you're going to have subscriptions, again, not thinking about what's going to make me the most money, but what's going to be the most helpful for them. So for example, with blogging, you would obviously make way more money if you were blogging a new blog for them every 2 days. But is that the best practices for most startups and content needs? No, so that's probably not a good idea to make your subscription like that. Again, it's always focused around the client, and in return, it will bring good karma back to you. Simplifying the process for them start to finish is always ideal for these subscriptions, because I think from the client's perspective, if they're going to invest in a subscription, let's say blog writing, 2 blogs a week for 4 months, they want to kind of set it and forget it. Once you get rolling and you become familiar with their brand and you understand their tone of voice, you understand their SEO needs, you understand kind of the pitch that they want to make, basically it could get to the point where all they have to do is just give you a dump of some potential topics, and they basically just trust you to pick the topics, the titles, the keywords, organize everything, and that they don't have to do a lot of management. So I think that that's kind of the dream spot for these subscriptions, which is different than a retainer, right? Because with a retainer where things are flexible and they're coming to you throughout the month for little engagements, with a subscription like this, they're trying to say, how do I find a partner that I trust? How do I build a schedule that I can predict both cost and output? And then how can I do as little as possible to just let it run and pay me back? So that's something to keep in mind. Oh, and offering a discount is ideal. The Fiverr subscribe to save thing, it's the to save part of that little name, obviously has a discount built in. I almost said description. The discount built in because it's just the bulk discount mindset, right? Buy 6, get 2 free or whatever. You get it. Hopefully my lacklusterness is not bumming you out. I'm feeling a little not excited about this topic, I know, but it's something you guys are interested in. So hopefully this Fiverr subscribe to save little feature and pro tips is helpful for you. And if you're trying to build a subscription model on your own, you can definitely take a clue out of Fiverr's playbook. You'll notice that the discount that is offered starts the 2nd month of the contract, whether that's 3 months or 6 months. And so there's a little bit of kind of safety for you in terms of hooking them into that order and getting them on the schedule, instead of just them taking the discount the very first month and then running without actually finishing the contract, because they technically can close that contract at any time. Okay, comment down below. Let me know which method suits you, or what you have done in the past, or what you would like to kind of manifest and attract for your business in the near future. I think that any of those options with long-term engagements in contracts is a really, really powerful way to scale up your revenue this year. All right, if you're still watching, you know you are my actual hero. Thank you so much for being here. Please make sure to check out the links to stuff I've got going on in the pinned comment and descriptions down below. An email just popped up and I gotta read that, okay? Yeah, chatty, rambly, this is the vibe today. So hope you enjoy it. And if you don't, you probably have left a video before now. That's totally fine, okay. Remember, you are worth so much more than your workload. You really, really are. But let's get back to work.